Hey everybody, Stahlman here. It's Friday, so that means it's the doctor is in live with TOA. Heck, I forget even what this show's called. You like the mask? I'm going to take it off because it's driving me crazy. I hope everybody's well. Obviously, week by week, things have been changing. Things are crazy. Things are scary, and we were hoping to have more of my associates talking about various orthopedic issues, but understandably, we're trying to keep our distance and people don't want to travel. So you're stuck with me. But today, I thought we'd talk a little bit about a topic that's important for everybody to really understand to try to help them deal with this whole coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. We've talked a little bit about the actual virus in one episode. We've talked about how TOA is working, as other doctors' offices are working, to try to help continue to see people using telemedicine. Today, I thought we'd talk just a little bit about how to stay healthy in this time of COVID-19. Now, we're not going to talk so much about physical health, such as washing your hands, or don't touch your face, or social distancing, or disinfection of surfaces. That's how you prevent either from getting the disease or from giving it to others. What I'd really like to talk about is more well-being, okay? Because as we know, the unknown is scary. It's certainly anxiety-provoking. The unknown, particularly when it comes up so rapidly, I mean, it's really just been 3 to 4 weeks since we've been dealing with this in a robust way in the United States. Things have changed a lot very quickly. I mean, it was just 4 weeks ago that we were dealing with the tornadoes in Middle Tennessee, and boom, this happens. And so, understandably, stress, anxiety, can really start playing a role in how we feel. In addition, it's really important for people to understand, and I see this a lot in my practice, taking care of people with spine problems, that emotional well-being affects physical well-being. We can't separate how we feel physically and how we feel emotionally. They work together. That's just the way we're built. And so people who feel bad physically will feel bad emotionally. People who feel bad emotionally will feel bad physically. People with chronic pain who are depressed, who are anxious, will have more pain than those folks who have those types of mental or emotional stressors under control. And so that's really happening with this whole pandemic. As always, while I'm an orthopedic surgeon, I'm not your orthopedic surgeon, so I want you to remember that what we're talking about today is really for your information and education and entertainment. I'm not trying to give you medical advice, but I am essentially giving you personal advice. I'm talking to you like I would talk to one of my patients in how to balance physical and emotional. So let's get started a little bit. I've got some notes actually, which it doesn't happen very often with me, but I wanted to write some notes down. And I've got a link for you to follow that kind of follows what I'm going to talk about that's in writing, that will help you kind of understand how to keep that balance. So again, physical health is important. Distancing, masks, washing your hands, don't touch your face, that's all important. Let's talk about how we can keep ourselves sane during this weird period of time, okay? So the first thing that's important to me that kind of goes stray in times like this is taking care of your body, okay? One of the most important things about taking care of the body is to make sure that you make sleep a priority. Anxiety and stress often keep people from sleeping well. We fritter and fret. We don't eat well. We may drink too much. We may drink too much coffee. We may be online and bombarded with screen, and that can impact our sleep. And lack of sleep will certainly make you less capable of managing your emotional state. So it's actually really important to get sleep. We hope to get 7 to 8, maybe 9 hours of sleep in a normal day. Some of the things you can do to try to help make your sleep more effective is don't eat within a couple hours of going to bed. Try to avoid screen time, TV, that type of thing before you go to bed. Try to avoid or limit your intake of alcohol, and certainly limit your intake of caffeine in the evening time. Create an inviting environment, dark, cool, maybe a fan blowing, maybe some mild music or even just white noise. Try to wear loose-fitting clothing, and really try to avoid the huddling up in bed, watching the news, reading your iPad, getting worked up before you're trying to relax and get your sleep. I think that'll help a lot. The second thing to help nourish your physical body is movement. The human body craves and needs to move. What we found is when people stop moving, become sedentary, their bodies break down. That's where we start to see worsening problems with arthritis, diseases, heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, when we become sedentary. So in this time, when we're huddled inside, when we're demanded to be close to home or not out, it's important to actually think about moving your body. And that can be simple stuff like just general walking about, moving and stretching your limbs, to actually getting outside and getting exercise. Even the governor's stay-at-home order is not mandating that you have to stay inside unless you are doing essential things like going to the doctor or going to the grocery. It is all right to go get some exercise, get outside and move. Shoot, it's been one of the most pretty springs I've seen in a long time. And my wife and I have talked about this. I think that it's probably even more beautiful this year because we've been able to be out in it. Usually, I kind of look at the dogwoods and the red buds and the new leaves on the trees from my car window as I'm driving to the office. Now, I've been walking my dog to death every day. He's getting tired of walking 6 hours a day. And I can see and smell and feel nature and spring. So it's actually been a superb spring for this to happen. So use that. Get outside. Get some sunshine. That's helpful to you. Actually, sunshine helps you to build bone mass. Your body does not have its own vitamin D, it creates it. The way we create vitamin D in our body is sun exposure. And so vitamin D is important in absorbing calcium, which then builds our bones. So it's all a big, everything's attached to one another, but getting outside can help you both mentally and physically. So get outside, move around. It doesn't have to be running a marathon. Just walking in your backyard, walking in your neighborhood. All those types of movements on a regular basis can make a big difference in how your body feels and how your mind feels. I also talked about limiting things like alcohol, like caffeine, like nicotine. Those types of stimulants, those types of depressants affect brain chemistry. They also affect not only our emotions, but our physical. People get revved up on caffeine. People kind of get sluggish on alcohol. And those can also affect your sleep patterns. So this is not the time to take on your next bourbon bottle. Nothing wrong with bourbon, I promise you. But moderation in all things is really going to be helpful in you managing your overall health in this tough time. Another thing that can be very useful for things like eating or exercise or balancing work is actually schedule it, okay? Don't just sit around and say, oh, I'll exercise sometime today, because you may not. And human nature often drives us to essentially cocoon ourselves, and we ignore those essential things. And so putting on a schedule of, I'm going to exercise from 8 to 9 o'clock this morning, I'm going to do my house cleaning at this time, can make a big difference in keeping that balance. Don't forget, personal hygiene and bathing are equally as important as eating well, sleep, exercise. Many times when people are under stress, they kind of tend to forget about some of those things. And that's where we can get into trouble with breakdown, with feeling bad. And so don't forget, regular, normal personal hygiene, bathing, taking care of our body's cleanliness can go a long way in helping you feel better and manage the stressors that are coming at us from all directions with the COVID-19 pandemic. So that's more the physical. The other side is taking care of your emotional. And I read this somewhere. Be kind to your mind is actually a good mantra. What we want to do is keep some balance. So we're not just running a mile a minute in our brain, worrying or thinking or wondering, but we have some balance. So tricks, stay away from social media. I'm not saying forever, but limit it. Turn off the TV and get away from the 24/7 news cycle where all they're talking about is the COVID-19 pandemic. The information is important, no doubt, but I think being bombarded and being overwhelmed by dire doom and gloom, potentially bad information, can be very detrimental in how you are emotionally. Practice gratitude. Be thankful for what you have. Be thankful for what you've achieved. Yes, we worry about our jobs or our retirement plans or our elderly mothers in the nursing home. But be thankful for what you have and hold on to that, because if we start losing faith in that, we can start giving up on ourselves, okay? Try to focus on things other than COVID-19. Taking up a hobby, doing something different, organizing your house, like the ultimate in spring cleaning, can be very therapeutic and also beneficial to you, both physically and emotionally, but also by achieving the task. I've taken up learning how to do filmography and video on my iPhone and producing it using some software. I've never done that before. It's kind of fun. It's something new. It's changing my brain and allowing me to focus on something else besides all the negative. Cooking, sewing, an exercise regimen, volunteering. Obviously, social distancing rules are in play. Things like that, something you've never done. Reading a book. Go back to playing games. I heard on NPR this morning that the puzzle industry is blowing up because it's something that you can do, that you can focus your mind on. It's very simple. It's not terribly challenging intellectually, but it's very satisfying because it's accomplishing thing and focusing right there. So take on a new hobby, learn something different, try something else, fail, it's okay. And that may also help you to kind of deal with managing the stress. Then there's the whole mindfulness category of managing things. So think about things like stress relief, meditation, deep breathing exercises, being out in nature and basically emptying your brain of all the extraneous information and just appreciating being. That can go a long way in keeping you emotionally healthy and physically healthy. It's quite clear that things like meditation go a long way to helping to reduce high blood pressure, stress hormones, cortisol, which is a big stress hormone, and can help people manage medical problems as well as emotional. I talked to one of my friends who's an extremely accomplished physician. She is one of the smartest people I know. She is type A, wound up. And I asked her, I said, how do you keep it together? And she recommended 2 applications or subscription services that are out there that can help you work on meditation and mindfulness. And I wrote them down here. One is called 10% Happier, and the other is called Headspace. Both of those are applications on the iPhone App Store. I'm sure they're also on the Android devices. But they are tools to try to help you learn how to manage some of these anxieties and achieve better mindfulness. I'm going to look into them. Sounds interesting to me. The last thing I think that we need to remember, Tennesseans don't tend to have this problem, but I think we all need to remember is share love with each other. Be with the people you care about, whether that's in person or virtually. Be kind to one another. We're all in this together, and we're all struggling in our own ways. So now's the time to perhaps wave rather than flipping the bird when somebody cuts you off. Perhaps it's now time when you go outside, rather than eyes down at the ground, not looking at your neighbors, look them in the eye. Say hi, how you doing? I've found that in our neighborhood, with more and more and more people out, it's quite interesting to see people's demeanor change if you just say, hi, how you doing? Never met them before, but you can see the relaxation occur just a little bit, the softening of their features. I encourage you to actively think about that. My wife reminds me all the time that I am kind of the doom and gloomer. I'm always the cynical, dark-sided, look at the negative type of person. She's worked very hard on trying to look at the positive. And I'm really trying to emulate her outlook because, frankly, I think it's healthier. It'll certainly make me a nicer person. Forgive people who have done you wrong. Most things that are done to you in this day and age really don't matter. Somebody cut you off, somebody standing in the grocery store and taking up space without thinking about other people, people who say snide comments on social media. Let that roll off. There's just not any real point in holding on to those types of negative emotions. Again, my wife would probably laugh because I'm the classic hold on to negative emotions kind of person. But I see her point, and I see how valuable that can be. So anyway, that's about it for today. I just wanted to remind people that we've still got a lot of work ahead of us. There's a lot of unknowns here. We're learning the game and making the rules during the game. And so you're going to get frustrated with lack of information or confounding information. The rule book hasn't been written yet. We'll only know how this plays out after it's all over. So be kind to one another. Be patient with yourself. Think about caring for the entirety of you, physical and emotional. Oh, this is a QR code to a blog post that essentially mirrors what I've been talking about. It's on the website WebMD. And if you just take, at least with the iPhone, just take a picture of this, it'll come up and lead you to the website, and you can read the information that I've been talking about. I hope this is helpful. Anyway, take care. Go out there and enjoy the beautiful spring. Go out there and live your best life.